Most sellers in Connecticut leave money on the table, not because they price too low, but because they price it wrong. And there's a difference. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how pricing strategy works in this market, what separates sellers who got 3 offers in a weekend from sellers who stood on market for 60 days, and how I think through this decision with every single client before the listing goes live. My name is Jason Boice. I'm a real estate professional with eXp Realty, and I work almost exclusively in central and eastern Connecticut, primarily in the towns of Hebron, Andover, Marlborough, Colchester, East Hampton, Portland, and Glastonbury. My listings are averaging 5.5 days on market compared to 27 days for the market average, and my sale to list price ratio is at 106%, where the market average is sitting at 102%. Now, I'm not telling you this to impress you, but because those numbers are a direct result of the pricing strategy that I'm about to explain. So, here's the problem most sellers face. You've put in the work. The house looks good. Maybe you've done some updates. You have a number in your head, one that feels fair. Maybe you even got it from Zillow. And your agent comes in and validates it or bumps it up to make you feel good and get a listing. Then you go live. The first 2 weeks, crickets. Then a price reduction. Then you're chasing the market down instead of controlling it. Now, I see this every season in every town I work in, and it's a painful part of what happens, but it's avoidable. So let's talk about how pricing to attract multiple offers actually works. And there are 4 things I want you to understand. Number 1 is what I call gravity of the right number. Every home in a given market has a price point where buyer demand concentrates. Now, it's not a single dollar figure, it's a range, maybe between $15,000 to $25,000. And that window, when you price inside of that, buyers who've been watching the market, they recognize value immediately. When you price above it, even by a small margin, those buyers will scroll right past it. Not because they can't stretch, believe me, they can, but because in a competitive market, buyers are trained to spot value, and overpriced listings read as negotiation bait. So instead, those buyers will wait and they'll watch. And while they're waiting and watching, your listing will be accumulating days on market. And it'll lose the one thing you can never buy back, and that is momentum. In towns like Colchester and East Hampton, this matters even more. Now, you don't have 200 buyers looking at every single listing. You might have 20 or 30 serious buyers in a given price point at any time. Price it right, you get all 30 walking through the door for showings in a weekend. Price it $30,000 too high, and you might only get 2. The second thing to understand is what the data is actually telling you and how to read it correctly. When I sit down to build a pricing analysis for a seller, I'm not just pulling the 3 most recent sales and splitting the difference. I'm not just looking at Zillow. I'm looking at list price versus sale price on the properties that sold fast versus the ones that lingered. I'm separating the comps by condition, not just square footage and bedroom count. A 2,400 square foot colonial in Marlborough that sold in 4 days at 108% of list price tells me something very specific about buyer demand at that price point and for that type of home. And a similar house down the road, it sat for 45 days and saw 96% of list price. Now, that's a warning sign about where the ceiling is, not a number to split the difference on. See, this is where my background really matters. I spent 10 years in the custom home building world. I can walk into a house and estimate pretty accurately the cost gap between your kitchen and the kitchen 3 streets over that sold for $40,000 more. That's not a guess, that's job site knowledge. Buyers and their inspectors, they're doing the same math. The price has to account for condition. In a way, a lot of agents, frankly, they're not equipped to do that accurately. So you want someone who definitely can to help you price it right. The third piece to understand is how buyer psychology works in a multiple offer environment and how to engineer it. Now, buyers make a decision based on perceived scarcity and social proof. So when a home hits the market on a Thursday, has 18 showings booked, And then on Monday, they're calling for highest and best. That's not an accident. That's a designed outcome. And the pricing made it possible. The presentation and the launch timing amplified it. And the offer deadline created urgency. Now, here's what I tell sellers before we go live. Your first weekend on market is the most valuable. You will never have more buyer attention than you have in that window. New listings get a spike of views from buyers who have saved searches, and they've been waiting for something in their price range to catch their eye to hit the market. If you price it correctly, those convert to showings, which convert to offers. And when buyers know there are other offers, they stop negotiating, they start competing. That's the shift you want. Price it right coming out of the gate, you can make that shift happen. If you miss that window and you go $30,000 over market and you spend 2 weeks getting no traction, those same buyers, they've moved on. They've made offers on other properties. And by the time you reduce it, you're starting with a stigmatized listing. And your days on market, they're visible to every buyer and every agent in the state of Connecticut. They see it, they draw a conclusion from it, and those conclusions are always working against you. The fourth thing is the one most sellers never hear. That pricing to attract multiple offers is not the same as pricing low. This is the misconception, and I spend a lot of time correcting this. I'm not telling you to underprice your home. I'm telling you to price it at fair market value with precision, present it and launch it correctly, and let buyer competition do the rest. When a seller lists a home in Hebron at $499 instead of $519, and they get 4 offers, all of them over asking, and they sell for $550, they did not leave money on the table. They actually made more of it. The final sale price in that scenario is often higher than it would have been if the seller had started high and then negotiated down. Multiple buyers competing against each other is more powerful than one buyer negotiating against one seller who needs to sell their house. I have seen this play out dozens of times. Sellers who trust the process and the strategy, they price it right, they execute the launch correctly, they always end up ahead. Sellers who insist on starting high to leave room to negotiate down, they always end up with a longer process, a lower number, a lot of stress, and a lot of inspection requests. So let me give you the takeaways. Number 1, price it in a range that's not a guess. It identifies a real analysis of condition, adjusted with comparables, not just an average. Number 2, your first week on market is irreplaceable, and your pricing determines whether it works for you or against you. And number 3, pricing to generate competition is not pricing low, it's pricing smart. And the final numbers will bear that out consistently. Now, the challenge is that the strategy only works when it's built on an accurate read in the market in your specific town, in your specific price band, and with specific properties in a similar condition. And that number creates competition. If it's in Glastonbury, it's going to be the wrong number in Andover, right? It's hyper local. It requires someone who knows these markets and how they differ, knows the comps personally, and can give you an honest answer, not just a number that's going to make you feel good and sign a listing agreement. This is a conversation I have every week with homeowners across central and eastern Connecticut. People who are ready to move, they have the equity, and they just want to understand the game that they're playing before they play it, and that's smart. If you want to have that conversation, if you want to sit down and work through what your home is actually worth, what a pricing strategy would look like, and what your real options are, you can book a free call with me. There's no pitch, no pressure, just an honest conversation about your situation, what makes sense. Now, if that's something you're interested in, the link is right below this video. I'd love to talk with you. All you got to do is click that link, book a call, and that's it. So thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please smash that like button. Share this with someone else who might get value out of this. And as always, thanks for watching.